Wipeout 64 was developed by the Sony-owned Psygnosis and debuted on the Nintendo 64 in 1998. The game was released just after the immensely popular F-Zero X, and gamers at the time would spend the rest of the holiday season arguing over which was better. I've always been aware of the Wipeout series, but I can't say I have ever been a fan. My first real experience was with the Sega Saturn version. I found the difficulty a bit on the extreme side, and the controls felt unnatural. However, a few years later, I tracked down Wipeout 64, and my attitude towards the series changed drastically. Wipeout 64 combines reversed versions of tracks from the first two games, irons out some of the track design kinks, and dramatically smooths out the controls. While the Nintendo 64's analog stick is oddly designed, it actually works fantastic for racing games. Perhaps this is why the N64 had so many great ones. The addition of the analog controls makes hovering through sweeping turns a lot more precise. This precision allowed me to finally come to grips with Wipeout's unique braking mechanics. The trigger buttons on the controller act as independent brakes for the left and right side. The brakes slow down the craft, in addition to acting as turning aids of sorts, helping you drift sideways through the turns. However, the collision detection is very unforgiving. Hitting walls will bring you to a screeching halt. The tricky track design, along with the very unique controls, make mastering the Wipeout games a very difficult endeavor. But it seems Psygnosis really found their groove for this Nintendo 64 version. While the difficulty is still pretty insane, it's not impossible. The tweaked courses seem a touch more cohesive, and the flow of the courses is much more enjoyable. While it still will take dozens of laps to master the more difficult courses, Wipeout 64 seems more forgiving than earlier games, allowing a little leeway when scraping the wall. Now, I'm a sucker for racing around the same track dozens of times trying to perfect a lap, receiving a great sense of accomplishment upon mastering a course, so Wipeout 64's difficulty is right up my alley. When you get everything just right, it's magic. Casual fans may be less impressed with the game's core mechanics. Moving on, Wipeout 64 forgoes a traditional career mode. Instead, Wipeout 64's main gameplay takes place in the challenge mode. The challenge mode is broken into 3 different categories: race, time trial, and weapon. Time trial mode gives you a set time to try and beat, and then gives you just a single lap to do it. Winning the bronze medal will unlock the next challenge in the series. It's a great way to learn the controls and learn the tracks. I also like the reward system here, as it gives incentive to actually master the courses. Race mode then pits you at the back of a field of 14 other vehicles, with the goal of a podium finish. Some of these challenges feature weapons and power-ups, while others are run in a more pure fashion. After clearing all 6 challenges, you are awarded a Wipeout 64 exclusive track. Rounding out the challenges is the weapon mode. Here you have to eliminate a specific amount of opponents before crossing the finish line. I find this to be the least enjoyable mode, with the change of focus seeming to go against what the game is all about. Finally, getting a gold medal on each challenge of each mode will unlock more events, but I'm not much of a completionist and haven't accomplished this yet. Wipeout 64's visuals are very pleasing. In single player mode, the frame rate hums along at 30 frames per second without much issue. The tracks and backgrounds are fairly detailed, and the texture work is surprisingly crisp for an N64 game. In fact, of all the N64 racers I own, this is probably the prettiest. Now, there is some pop-up, but I never found it distracting and it doesn't impede gameplay, so it doesn't bother me. The team at Psygnosis was also able to reproduce the series' trademark European techno soundtrack, despite the limited space available. In total, there are 9 different tunes, and they all sound terrific. The high-energy beats fit the blistering pace of the game perfectly, immersing you into the futuristic world. As a whole, Wipeout 64 is an awesome game. The fast visuals, twitchy gameplay, and fitting soundtrack combine to create a truly unique racing experience. If you are looking to get into the 5th generation Wipeout games, this is definitely the place to start. The buttery smooth analog controls and tweaked track design really put this one over the top. 4 out of 5.